Hi, everybody. Good morning and welcome back to All Day Tea Party. I'm your host, Snowbee Goodman, and here we're going to figure life out together, ask the big questions, learn more about ourselves, and remember not to take ourselves too seriously in the process. All right, so good morning, world. We are back with episode 16 now. Let's just get right into it. We have a couple bits of housekeeping stuff this morning, nothing too crazy. I say morning because it is literally 7:22. I'm recording in the morning again, so yay. So first thing is we are going to be on an every other week schedule until further notice. Nobia is very, very busy. And I don't really like doing like throwaway episodes or like, man, just like a 20-minute episode like here or there. Like I want to give you guys like a full like 30 to 40-minute episode and just have time to like edit and like post on the TikTok and blah, 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 blah. So expect the next episode on April 10th. Next up, again, going to be posting clips of this episode on the TikTok, yada, yada, yada. Feel free to just tell me any more content you would like to see. Like I typically end up just like posting bits of the episode, but if you want to see other things, like, yeah, just tell me. This is a collaborative experience, as I've said. And be on the lookout for like a very special announcement next week. We are going to be having a guest coming up pretty soon, somewhere within the next 3 episodes, I want to say. So around then. And then Snowy has a very fun life update. So for all of you that are wondering, like, girl, why are you so busy? And I think I've mentioned this on the pod before, but like I was in the process of applying to grad school. Well, I got in. Yay. And I'm going to be getting my master's in urban planning. So yeah, I've just been kind of getting that together, like figuring out like financial aid and like how I'm paying for it and blah, 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 blah. And then working. But because the school I'm going to is in like the DC region, I will be leaving Boston. So I've also been like trying to juggle that and like moving and blah, 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 blah. So I have a lot going on, like lots of applications being filled out, lots of wheels turning. So that is kind of where a lot of my focus has been. And another big part of my focus has been on the special announcement that I'm coming with next week. But I'm like really, really excited. I was like jumping for joy when I got into this school because this is my top choice. I'm really excited to start the program. I'm actually super excited to be going back to school in general. Like I think it'll be a good time. But this is like the weirdest little thing. I'm like, I'm going to have to post this on LinkedIn eventually. And like, why am I nervous? But honestly, I haven't posted anything on LinkedIn since I graduated from college and like started my current job. So it's been almost 2 years. And like LinkedIn feels like a very intense social media. Like TikTok and Instagram, that's one thing, but like LinkedIn just feels like social media, but like professional in like a scary way. Like LinkedIn is not fun. And if you're ever like scrolling LinkedIn too long, like you're going to start to feel bad about yourself. So yeah, I'm a little nervous to make my LinkedIn post. But that is it for my life updates and housekeeping. Really excited to take you guys along on this next journey. Like, I can't remember who I was talking to this about, but I feel as if like I am literally entering like a new era of my life. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, we have closed a chapter and like we are entering a completely new era. Like we are, and it's a weird, like liberating feeling, but it's also like a little nerve wracking because it's like, oh my gosh, like we are actually like in a new era. And because I mean, when I graduated from college and stuff like that, I was like, okay, like we are still like, because like I feel like I entered like a new season of my life, I would say, like when I graduated from college and when I moved to Boston and everything. But now I'm like, oh, like we're entering a new era. Like, does that make any sense? Like I feel like there's a difference between like entering a new season of your life versus like, oh, that chapter's closed. Like we are just entering something completely different. Like we've hopped into another timeline. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's kind of how I feel. So I feel like these next few months are going to be a lot of fun and a little overwhelming, but it's like, again, we've entered a whole new timeline. Okay, so we have a pop culture update from one of my New Year's Eve predictions. If you recall, let me figure out what episode that was. Please hold. I think it was episode 9, actually. Yeah. For those of you who are on the Instagram. Yeah, so it's episode 9. I did like New Year's Eve like predictions and pop culture stuff. And I did talk about, if you guys recall, I talked about Gypsy Rose Blanchard and how I was like nervous that the internet would like weirdly turn on her. Well, Zenobia's intuition was right. And she has like deleted, or like I maybe deactivated, I would say, her social media accounts, and she is apologizing for her lack of accountability that people have been accusing her for, like in her interviews and stuff like that. And all I have to say about that is, number one, like, how dare you guys? like this is somebody who just left prison, like has had an entire life of trauma, and she just like, is finally entering the real world and obviously learning about how social media works. And, I don't think Gypsy Rose Blanchard had any idea that like, people on social media love to build you up just to break you right back down when like you're too successful or you're doing something wrong. And it's like, y'all have basically chased this girl off the internet. And I feel bad for her, but honestly, like, I just hope she's like happy and healthy, like with her family, with her husband, with her, I think she has siblings. I might be wrong, but like with her husband, but honestly, I just hope she's happy and healthy. And I really do think maybe a social media break is the best thing for her, just because like, it's ridiculous. And I do feel really bad for her. But that's it, like prediction wise. I did talk about that in episode 9, but pop culture, I guess we found out where Princess Kate was. Okay, she has like cancer and she'd been getting operations and recovering. And that is so awful. I feel so bad for her. I hope she actually is like healing and like feeling much better. Couple comments though. First of all, William, what is your problem? Like, how dare you have your wife sitting on a bench by herself disclosing to the whole world that she has cancer? Like, are you serious? Like, where were you? Like, why was he not sitting right beside her? Like, are you kidding me? Number 2, the way the palace handled this PR wise was absolutely ridiculous. One, you guys let it get so out of control. Like, I mean, it started off as like little jokes, and then we're coming up with whole theories, and like the internet is losing their mind. And then they do the whole Photoshop thing and blame that on Kate. Like, that just didn't feel necessary. And being like, oh, Kate's sorry. And I'm like, y'all went and threw her under the bus. Like, the woman is recovering from cancer, and you guys are like, sorry. Like, I just don't like how they handled that. And I think that, it's like really sad what she's going through, and it just did not seem like the palace PR team wise was helping her through it. And of course, William wasn't there because he's just as useless as his daddy. But anyways, next up for pop culture. Okay, so I really, really like A24 movies. Like, there's a big chunk of them that I've enjoyed, but I never watched Bodies because I don't know if it just wasn't on any streaming services or just not on the streaming services I had. So, but sometime, I want to say like sometime this week, it came on Netflix. So I was like, let me watch this. Guys, when I tell you this movie I was hysterically laughing. So basically, it's, for those of you who like don't know what it's about, it's like a horror comedy, I would say. And it's like a group of like friends in a house, and they're Gen Zers. And they play this. It's one of like those like random people start dying and you're like, oh my God, who is the murderer in the house kind of thing. But like, it's hilarious, like the way the movie plays out. And I feel as if like it's very like aggressively Gen Z in the way that like things play out in the movie. So I thought it was really good. Okay, so that's it for pop culture. Reality TV check-in. Let's get into it. So since the last time we saw each other, 2 shows have ended. So that's Love is Blind and The Bachelor. Start with The Bachelor, very chill. The Bachelor, Joey and Kelsey ended up leaving engaged. They're really cute together. I like them a lot. I think that was a good pick. I thought it was really, I liked how Daisy like self-eliminated and just like gave herself a chance to be like, I'm going to go because I know I'm not getting chosen. Good for her. Love you. Really glad Maria isn't the Bachelorette, because if you guys remember in last episode, I was basically saying like Maria can go like can go eons past Bachelor Nation, and I'm glad she's given the opportunity to. Just I'm also hoping she's not on Paradise either, because girl, stay away from Bachelor Nation. You don't, because I feel like we're in a situation where ABC and The Bachelor needs Maria more than she needs them, and she needs to leverage that and go do amazing things with herself. Next, so Jen is the Bachelorette. Like, we don't know a ton about Jen. Like, she was really nice in the show. Like, she just had like a fun presence. Like, she was funny. Like, she seemed to get along with the other girls. But I see other people being like, Jen's so boring. We don't know anything about Jen. It should have been this person. It should have been that person. And I'm going to say something, and this might be a little controversial, but I think a lot of the people complaining about Jen being the Bachelorette are not complaining about Jen because of her personality. I think there might be like a little twinge of racism in there, because Jen would be the first Asian Bachelorette, and great for like representation, but also like everybody's like, we don't know anything about her. And I'm like, I don't want to know everything about the Bachelorette before she comes on. Like, you know what I mean? And I'm like, Jen was like not a problem at all this season. Like, she was just there, she was hanging out, and like, I don't know. So I'm under the impression that Daisy said no, then Maria said no, and then Jen. And I'm like, okay, great. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, I feel like this will be a fun season regardless. I don't know a ton about her, but I feel like that's the whole point of her being Bachelorette, is for us to get to know her. So let's pipe down and check our biases. All right, next up, we have Love is Blind. Okay, I'm going to go through this one very quickly just because what's done is done. Number one, Jimmy and Chelsea. I knew it. And I told you guys that I knew it. Jimmy got a good edit. And it makes me so upset because the whole world is calling Chelsea crazy. But then she goes on a podcast and it's like, oh, here's what actually happened. And here's why I was reacting the way I was. And here's how Jimmy was being trifling. And I was like, Jimmy got a really, really good edit. And it made Chelsea look crazy. And I was like, you know what? I could tell. I could sniff that out from a mile away. Everybody talking about how Chelsea is this, that, and the third. And I was like, no, like no woman that is like sane would act like this with a man. And it was very telling when like all of the women that were like her friends on the show were like, yeah, we were like really shocked to see Chelsea so like insecure and like the way she was, because that's not the girl we know. And I was like, Jimmy got a good at it. And I knew it from that second. And then like in the interview, Chelsea explained it. Personally, I would not be speaking to Jimmy, but Chelsea's better than I am, and that's that. Next up, we have, I mean, obviously like the Laura, Jeremy, and Sarah Ann thing happened. I think Jeremy and Sarah Ann are simply together out of spite now, and I think they deserve each other. Next, we have, side note, back to Jimmy and Chelsea. I think that's why during the reunion, they were barely talking about Jimmy and Chelsea. Like, we talked about Jimmy and Jessica more, but I feel as if we would have talked about Jimmy and Chelsea more, it would have revealed that Jimmy got a good edit, and like the producers couldn't have given that away. Makes sense. I will also say, I give credit where it's due. Vanessa and Nick, they did their jobs this reunion. I am proud of them. They did good. And it was cute to have like, you know, former Love is Blind contestants there too. And then we have Kenneth and Brittany. They're boring. Johnny and Jamie. No, it was Johnny and Amy. They're really cute. They seem to be happy together. Then we have Clay and AD. And Clay, trifling. His whole, I went to therapy. And he was like almost crying. I was like, I am not moved. Sorry. But so I think him and he's gone on interviews and said this, and him and his mom have gone on interviews and talked about this. But I think AD made a comment at the reunion talking about like the relationship, and she was basically like, I wouldn't want like something to the effect of like, respectfully, I wouldn't want to end up like your mom. And for those of you who cannot remember, Clay's mom was married to her dad for 20 something years, and he absolutely dogged her out the whole time. Was cheating on her, was taking her son on the infidelity trips with him, which I think is so sinister, to disguise time with like spending time with your son. Like, to use that to hide your infidelity is absolutely insane. Like, that is so sinister. But anyways, and AD was like, I don't wish to end up like that. And Clay gets on a podcast and is talking about like, that was so offensive, like this, and that. And I'm like, how? And then him and his mom were on a podcast talking about it too. And he was like, well, she wishes she could like be married. And I was like, the longevity of the marriage doesn't matter when like your husband is like the worst. But anyways, whatever. Doesn't matter. So The Bachelor and Love is Blind, those seasons are done. Finally, we have Vanderpump Rules. Guys, I'm still not buying this Sandoval redemption arc, and I'm sick of it. Like, oh my gosh. Like, sometimes I feel like Lala can be very insightful, but this season I'm just like 1 minute Sandoval's a predator who's all this, and that. Next minute, Ariana needs to like stop having such a big ego and all this other stuff. And the whole like you need to move out of your house with Sandoval. Like, I'm sorry that Ariana, like, it makes total sense that Ariana's trying to make sure she's like in a good position financially before she moves. Like, what is not clicking for you guys? And Sheena, just annoying. Like, I think her, like, she's just setting up to go be friends with Sandoval again. And that's fine. Again, another set of people that deserve each other. But let's talk about Joe, Tom's friend. I just think the whole like I'm so quirky is hiding something much more sinister. Like I don't know, I don't like her. I don't like her at all. And I also think like her being like they're bullying me. I'm like no, they're like they just don't like you. And I think that's okay. But yeah, obviously Katie and Ariana still slaying the day. I love them. But again, it's like this just redemption arc. Like I am so over it. Like, no. And I just think the idea that like Ariana's being, like, you know, has a big ego where she's being this, that, and the third, or she's just like not being agreeable like with the other castmates, like but that is a Vanderpump Rules update, not having watched the episode that came out on the 26th. So that was Tuesday. Well, came out on Peacock yesterday. But yeah, I haven't watched that episode yet. So we'll talk about that. So we'll have two episodes to talk about next podcast episode. So the 10th. All right. It was a quick little reality TV check-in. I feel less overwhelmed because I only have one show to keep up on now, but I'm sure another is going to come around that I'm gonna be totally in the mix with. Okay, so this week's episode I feel is like not only very relevant to my life currently, but I also feel like is very relevant to the idea of like spring. I don't know what it is about this year, but like I usually don't really like spring. I'm going to be honest with you guys, but like this year I'm like this is very like it seems like a very hopeful time, a time of work, a time of being organized. Like I'm ready to rock and roll. Like I feel very good about spring. So like I said, it feels like a very transitionary period. Like we're entering a new era. Like that's really the vibe. But with that comes like being like, I just feel like in this like part of the year, I'm like really, really busy. So that kind of, sorry, circling back to the episode, I feel like that is just like, it's giving very much spring and it's relevant. Anyways, so this episode we're talking about staying organized, which again I said is like very relevant to my life and I feel like would be relevant to a lot of people's lives. Okay, so things are really, really busy. So okay, so let me walk you guys through this. We're gonna talk about like actual like physical tools to stay organized. We're going to talk about like how I prioritize and de-stressing, and then we're going to get up out of here, and that's the end of the episode. Okay, so physical tools. One thing about me is I'm gonna write something down. Like I have so many, like I'll look in like purses and I have like random little packs of sticky notes like everywhere. Like I always try to at least have a pen on me. Like I'm always writing something down. Like there's just random notes like all on my computer. There's just random notes like in my room, like by my desk. Like I usually just like always have some form of sticky notes. I think sticky notes are like very helpful if there's like, I feel like sticky notes are like very helpful because I'm just like, oh, I'm thinking something. I need to like immediately write that down. If I can't get on the sticky note, I'll just like put it in my notes app. Like just the idea of being able to like immediately write something down is like really important. Also, this is like my favorite mug ever. Do you guys see it? She's so cute. Got her from Canada. Anyways, so yeah, I find that to be like very, very important. I also have a physical planner, which again, like I get to just like see my whole week and it's amazing. Like I would be happy. So I have been getting the same planner since I want to say 2019, with the exception of 2022, because I got a like different planner last year and I didn't like it as much. But so I've been getting the same exact planner since my sophomore, or was it my freshman year of college? One of the two. Maybe it was like it might have been like fall fresh. So 2018, sorry. I've been getting this same exact planner from Amazon. It's perfect. I love her. It comes in different colors. I would be happy to link it for anybody that wants it. Yeah, perfect planner. It's like cute. It's I'm gonna just post a picture of it because I feel like I'm describing it. But yeah, no, it's cute. It's compact. It's great. Like I absolutely love that planner. And again, like having a physical planner with like my whole week laid out is amazing. And then I have my month, and I'm like, okay, I have appointments this day. I'm traveling this day. Like it's just very helpful to have all of that in one place. And I feel like I just reiterate everything that's in my physical planner, like dates wise, with my Google Calendar. So again, I'm putting my travel dates, my appointments, my stuff like that in my Google Calendar. The good thing about my Google Calendar is if for some reason one day I'm not checking my planner, I still get the notifications on my phone, which groundbreaking. Like absolutely love that. So again, like we are staying very, very organized. And like and then something that like really helps me is like, so for example, I break things, like I break tasks down. So for example, I had to go to the library the other day and I was like, okay, go to the library. Okay, what do you have to do at the library? Okay, well, I have to fill out a form and I have to print something and then I want to return books and I want to get 2 new books. I wrote every single one of those tasks down. You know what I mean? Instead of just like go to the library, it's like go to the library and then do all of these things. Like I wrote every single thing down and I felt that it was very helpful in just like, again, reorganizing myself and just putting every single step down and like making sure I'm not forgetting anything. I also use the reminders app, like if I just have something like I need to do like last minute, and I'm like, oop, I gotta write that down. So again, my notes apps, the reminders apps. Another thing that I like to use, and this is specifically for planning like social media content, is Notion. And I like that I can have like different squares and like organized and stuff like that. And again, like maybe like a little calendar setup. I really do like Notion. I feel like the pages or like the little templates are like really good for just like jotting stuff down and brainstorming. So I do like Notion a lot, but that's specifically for social media content. Okay, so next up, we talk about prioritizing. So this is something like really big for me is because I love to multitask. Like there's always 8 million things going on in my head. And it's like I am like my brain is constantly going, but it's sometimes I have to be like, okay, is this more important or is this task more important? Like which should we be focusing on? And that's like the hardest question for me. Especially when I have like lots of things that I consider to be like important to do. But I found this thing on LinkedIn the other day. Yes, the one decent thing LinkedIn has done for me. And I'm going to share it with you guys. So it's like a productivity cheat sheet. There's a bunch of different things, but here are the ones that I have been using lately. So the 2 minute rule, if like a task takes less than 2 minutes, like do it immediately. The Pomodoro technique. And I did this in college too. It's like you set a timer for 25 minutes. You work, take a 5 minute break, go back to it. So like doing things in like 25-minute increments. Next is break tasks into pieces, which I already do, and then eliminate multitasking. And that one's like, again, pretty hard for me because I love to multitask, but it's important to be able to focus on one thing at a time. And I feel like in the long run, like that'll be better. That's like better for you for staying organized. Like this is something I'm like training myself out of because it's like in the moment, I'm like, well, I got stuff to do. I don't really, like, you know what I mean? It's like, I can be doing this while this is happening and like, doing 8 million things. So it's like, I want to be able to like do each task like completely and fully to the best of my ability. But when it comes to like personally like prioritizing and being like, okay, well, I have these 3 kind of big task to do. Let's figure out like how I can split them up throughout the day has been very helpful. And just like, obviously taking breaks. So like making your breaks a little intentional. Like, oh, I'm going to, instead of just like, oh, I'm taking a break, I'm going to like sit on my phone. It's like, okay, maybe like let's go on a walk or stretch our legs or drink some water. Like, let's be a little intentional with our break so that like when I come back to doing whatever task it is that I have to do, I feel a little bit better. And then again, the idea of like, okay, does this need to happen like right this second? Like, I'll go back to like the LinkedIn post that I was talking about, but it's like, okay, I just got into grad school. Ooh, I'm kind of stressed. Like, I need to eventually post on LinkedIn. I'm prioritizing because that does not need to happen right this second. It really does not. You've got other things to worry about. But that's like an example of being like, oop, not right now. That's something I have to do. But there are other things that are more important, that are a little more pressing. So just being able to be like, not quite, but maybe later. And then so that's how I like stay organized and learn how to prioritize and stuff like that. But the final part I want to get into regarding organization is de-stressing. Because I'm definitely somebody, and I don't know if I've even mentioned this before, but I feel like I work in my sleep. Like, I feel like I'm constantly brainstorming, constantly trying to like figure stuff out. And like, sometimes that isn't exactly helpful because my body's always like, but I think de-stressing is like a really important part of like staying organized because like, if you let it happen, your brain will literally just like go on overload. And I don't think that is productive for you. Again, like a lot of this, like, take breaks or like, don't try to multitask or like things that like a lot of those little things are literally designed to make you more productive. Like, yes, in the moment, like by taking a break, you're like technically slowing down, but in the long run, you will be more productive. Like, you know what I mean? It's like taking a little break now to be more productive in the future. Like, that's kind of the vibe. So back to de-stressing, like no matter how busy you're stressed out, I feel like I always try to make time for self-care. And self-care looks different for everybody. So for me, maybe it's watching a show or doing a face mask or like, making sure to take like a nice long shower or do my skincare routine or something like that. And I think like de-stressing and self-care looks different for everybody. Sometimes I feel like I go back and forth between this, but sometimes I feel like I can be very like, okay, like, time to be in my own little world. Like, Snippy needs alone time. And other times I'm like, okay, I can recharge and de-stress by like being around other people or like hanging out with my friends. And like, that is kind of how I de-stress in that way. Like I said, it really, really depends on you. And like, everybody's always saying like, here's how you wind down, here's how you de-stress. Like, don't really, and like, obviously advice is great, but I don't really subscribe to anybody telling you how you should be doing those things because I feel like de-stressing and stuff like that are like so personal to you. Like, take advice, obviously, but it's like at the end of the day, like if that's not how you de-stress, there is no shame in that. And like an example of this kind of like with my own life is that like, so, everybody's like, do yoga, stretch to de-stress. And I don't know what it is, but I just like don't like yoga just doesn't work for me. Like, one, I feel like I'm not super flexible. And I don't know what it is, but like yoga just doesn't really do that for me in that way. And I can't say I really enjoy it. Like, outside of the like little 10, 15-minute like YouTube video stretches, I can't exactly say I super enjoy doing yoga. And I think for a long time I was like, what is wrong with me? Like, this is the thing that everybody uses to de-stress. Like, what in the world? Like, what is going on? And then this is like a month or so ago, I was in a spin class and I was like spinning and I was like feeling so good. I was like, I feel great. Like, oh my gosh, like this feels amazing. Like, I feel so much relief. And it like clicked for me. And I was like, wait, like doing spin and that kind of workout is my version of yoga. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm not stretching and I'm not doing like all the, like, that sort of like workout, but it's like, I'm getting that same kind of like release. So I'm like, okay, great. And it's like, just don't let anybody tell you how to relax. You know what I mean? I mean, granted, those are just ways that I do it. And obviously, at the end of the day, like take your deep breaths. You have so got this. And staying organized, I think like the biggest part for me for staying organized outside of like the actual tools and like learning how to prioritize is to like regulate myself emotionally and be like, it's okay. Like we can do this. Like we're going to be so fine. Like, you know what I mean? Because I feel like a lot of the times, like if I like am starting to get overwhelmed, like it's the feeling rather than the amount of things I have to do that I end up having to deal with. And I think that's where like de-stressing and like, you know, writing your little checklist and stuff comes in, because it's like, okay, I can see things on paper. I know that I'm taking time for myself. I know that this stuff is going to get done. So it's all about self-regulation, babes. But yeah, like that's how we're staying organized. Like I said, I feel like this episode was like very relevant to my life, and I'm sure is probably relevant to other people's lives as well. Yeah, so let's do an I'm rattled. So I do have something that I'm actually really rattled about. So I've been seeing on TikTok and like a couple different influencers, content creators, just like people posting on TikTok that like they'll be walking like in New York City and people will just be coming up to them and like punching them in the face. And I'm like, what is going on? It's like, I think a lot of, I mean, at least the people I've seen, they're all like young-ish white women, and I'm like, this is so interesting. Like a lot of the punching appears to be going on in Manhattan, question mark. And I'm just like, that's so scary. Like you can't even, and like this is in broad daylight too, like, and you can't even just like walk around in broad daylight and people like are attacking you. Like it feels like, I don't know, like that's really scary. And I think that, you know, you're just walking minding your business and somebody comes up to you, like that's insane. Like, you know what I mean? So no, I feel really bad for a lot of those girls. But like I said, like it's rattling to know that like obviously crime always happens. Like duh, we know that. But just to know that like unprovoked people are doing stuff like that. And like I think I want to say I saw like 2 or 3 videos on my For You page, and then other people are like, oh my gosh, I saw more videos. So it's, I don't even know how many like people this has happened to. But one of the girls that ended up like getting hit, and she had like a knot on her head. Her name is Hallie Kate. She's an influencer from New York. The man that attacked her has been arrested. So you know what? We're making strides. So that's good. But yeah, that's the main thing I'm rattled about. Yeah, I hope everybody stays safe. I do have like a lot of friends that live in New York, so y'all be safe. And that's that. So that's the end of the episode. Thanks for hanging. Again, episode April 10th. Be on the lookout for that. In the meantime, there's going to be clips of this episode posted. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being so patient with me when it comes to the schedule. Like because we usually do Wednesdays, we're on a Friday schedule now. So thank you for being so patient. This has been lovely, as it is every single time. So yeah, I'm excited to share with you guys some news next week. And I think, yeah, we're going to have a great time, and I'm really excited. Thank you for being here as always. And yeah, continue to spill tea all day, learn more about yourself, ask the big questions, and remember not to take yourselves too seriously in the process. I will see you guys when I see you. Enjoy the rest of your week. Bye, friends.